Hello, hello, hello. You are tuning into another episode of The Wunderkind Show. Today's topic, and it's actually been a long time coming, today's topic is Deion Sanders in OU. And I'm going to be very candid, open about this, but let's get into it, right? So, Deion Sanders, the most renowned cornerback to ever play in the NFL, deemed a top 10 player of all time by most NFL analysts, and a 2 sports star went down to Jackson, right? The college Jackson, and it's HBCU. So HBCUs, for people that do not understand this, are historically black colleges, okay? And he goes there originally wanting to go to Florida State, which I believe is his alma mater. But they said no. They said, no, we're not going to hire you, and blah, blah, blah. And we think you'd be better as an assistant or something like that. And he said, no, I'm a head coach. So he went to Jackson, or Jackson State, I believe it is, and he flourished. But this is where it becomes very nuanced, right? Because I'm going to tell the whole story, because a lot of times people don't tell the whole story. He goes there. He uses money out of his own pocket and builds up the sports program and the campus out of his own pocket. That means out of his own wealth. He invests into not only the football program, but the school itself, on top of putting his money where his mouth is, right? He delivers 2 state championships and an undefeated season to end it all. Okay, now that's amazing, to say the least. Okay, then Deion then goes to, or says that he's transferring schools and he's going to go to Colorado, OU. And it's created such backlash, predominantly from the black community and a lot of other people saying that he's a sellout. And I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be honest with you. This is a very nuanced thing. Very nuanced, because both sides aren't wrong, but both sides aren't completely correct, right? And I'm going to go into it right now. I wasn't going to touch on it yet. I waited for all the dominoes to fall and set for me to touch on this subject. So let's get it. So pretty much, people have to understand this. You have to give people choice. Choice. Even if you believe that they have the power to do more, they are still obligated to their own choice. Now, look, I know some people are going to say that I'm agreeing with what Deion did. No, I'm not all the way. I understand both sides, right? And once again, it's a very nuanced conversation. When you have to understand that black people overall, we're looking at it saying you have the power to help turn everything on its head, right? And you could probably be the driving force to get NFL coaches and stuff like that to come and coach at these schools, or players to come and coach at these schools, and then take the predominantly black athletes, young athletes that are coming out of high school to get to go to these schools. And what does that force the NFL to do? They have to start scouting those schools. They have to start scouting because all the top talent are going to those schools. So they have to scout those schools more, which causes more players from those schools to go to the NFL, which in turn makes more players want to go to those schools because their chances to go to the NFL go up, right? And to be seen, right? And if you're being seen, it turns into more dollars, meaning TV dollars. I get it. Point is well understood. And it's a very good point, because here's the thing. Anything worth having is worth sacrifice, right? If you want change, true change, you have to sacrifice. My only thing on that point is, how much do you want that person to sacrifice? Because all in all, Deion has sacrificed. being there. Now I know some people are gonna be like, oh, he's a multi-millionaire, and even though he might have gave, let's say, I don't know the exact amount, but let's just say $3 million, $4 million. Oh, he can afford that. You don't know that. You don't know his financial obligations or anything else like that. You have no idea. This is the reason why a lot of rich people remain rich, because they have to watch every dollar where it's going, so they're not using excessively if it's not needed. Because on a rainy day, or in our case, going through heavy inflation, they can weather the storm. You understand? Okay. So what I mean by that is, you look at him and you say, okay, you think he might have the money to do what he's done, which he did. He put his money where his mouth is. But at that same token, wouldn't you say that's a lot? Because most people will talk a good talk, but will never put their hard-earned money on the line, because there was no guarantee. Look, at the end of the day, there was no guarantee that he was going to be able to bring top athletes to his program. There was no guarantee that he was going to be able to win with those athletes in the SWAC and bring a championship to that school. There was no guarantee that he would go undefeated. There was no guarantee that he would win the state championship back-to-back seasons. And as they've already told him, there was no guarantee that he'd be given the job to Colorado State. Now look, Colorado State is a predominantly white school, PWI, and I guess they said it's only 1.9% black, which would account for the only people that are black on the campus are athletes, which is kind of crazy. And I get it. That's the nuance to it, right? If you're going through it, anybody, when you're looking at something that's bigger than yourself, it's worth sacrificing for. And it's sad, because then you look at it and you say people, depend and look, because you have so many thoughts and ideas and people's hopes and dreams resting on you. But here's the other side. Here's the other side. How much is enough, right? Because if you're saying that this man should have sacrificed even more, that means that you have to start calling out every single person that comes through to sacrifice, either equally or percentage-wise. And what I mean by that is, if another coach, let's say Deion's worth $20 million, and he let's say he sacrificed, I don't know, 10% of what he was worth, right? That means every coach that comes behind him should sacrifice 10% of what he's worth. And everyone's going to be like, no, that's not what we're saying. That is what you're saying. Because you're holding everything he did accountable in how he left. Right? Deion Sanders is an icon. We know that. Neon Deion. Everybody does the Deion, what's it called? Touchdown dance and everything else. We all know what it is. But at the same time, you have to give people choice. He didn't leave the school in a bad enough place. Like, some people come and then they go. They're like the seasons. You get where I'm coming from? They don't leave it in a better predicament than what they came. He did. Not only to say the football program, which he would fully, benefit from. He helped the school because he left them with TV deals. So they're going to be covered more, meaning the school makes more money even after he's gone. Now, some people are going to be like, yeah, but that's only going to last for so long. Then that's up to the next person to do. Right? I would say this. This is where I say that we depend on singular people to do too much, right? From my point of view. If everybody would give 2%, then it wouldn't be on one person, i.e. Deion, to give 75 or 80% to get the job done. A lot of people that are holding him to the fire would never put themselves in a predicament to help out a greater cause than themselves. That's fact. And most of the time, when people are given the opportunity to get, let's say, generational wealth or great financial acuity, guess what happens? They worry about nobody but themselves. Because why should they? The other people should work just as hard as they did to get what they have. Now, look, like I said before, I understand both parts. That's why it's such a nuanced discussion, right? Because anything worth having is worth sacrificing for. But how much are you asking this man to sacrifice? Now, look, could he have? Listen, I was listening to Dr. Umar today on the Breakfast Club. I'm not a big Breakfast Club proponent, but anything with Dr. Umar sometimes I take a look at. And I was watching it and I was listening to what he was saying. And he made valid points. He said that, listen, Deion was starting a shift. He made coaches and organizations uncomfortable because he had a singular popularity about himself that could start a change or start a narrative or start a push in the direction that CBH historically black colleges would benefit from. Because he's saying that most of them are extremely underfunded, which is true. I know I'm black, and you're going to say, oh, you're just saying that. No, statistically, you can go look at it. They're highly underfunded. They don't get the government assistance like a lot of the other colleges get, even though they have some of the best graduating rates in the country. And that's all fact. You can't even argue it. So I was listening to him and he was saying, like, look, if he could have started something, stayed, and made other coaches and stuff like that go to those schools, other HBCUs, and invest, which then now if they're taking all of the talent from the high schoolers, and now because great names are coming out of this place, other high schools want to play there, just like the LSUs or anything else. Alabama wasn't always Alabama. You get where I'm coming from? It wasn't. And he's saying that you could have started that. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. See, that's why it's nuanced. Because he's not wrong. He could have. If Deion would have dug his foot in, he could have said, you know what? Okay. Let's really make change. He could have. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't have applauded it, because I would have been happy. Right? My sister went to FAMU. My brother did his master's at FAMU. So I'm a big proponent of HBCUs. Big proponent. Because I understand their worth. Their worth. It's a natural worth. It just is what it is. It's important. Because education is important. It's a foundation and structural monetary gain. Look at all the stats. College degrees make more than everybody else statistically across the board. When you go to college, you're less likely to go to jail and all this other stuff. Once you finish the stats of everything else, it's a steep decline. So why wouldn't he want that, right? So what he is saying is if he would have stayed and caused change, had other NFL players investing into this, that would have swayed public opinion or popularity to have other players wanting to come play there or of these other schools, which would have then popularized the school in the media. Because when the big names are going there, then the media has to cover it. No matter how much their money is tied up in these other programs, they're going to have to eventually cover it, because you know why? The media follows nowadays social media. Social media cue what the media covers. That's just the way it is now. What's trending on social media is what the media is trying to promote or propagate. Okay? So we're looking at that, saying that, okay, he could have done that. Dang, now that he said that, I wish he would have done that. But I can't be mad at a man for doing great things and taking another opportunity. Now, I know what some people are saying, well, look, that's the problem. We don't do enough for our race and other things like this. The nuanced part about it. But once again, that is such a nuanced argument, because it's not like the man did not sacrifice being there. Did it open the door for him? Yes, it did. But like I said at the beginning of this, he put his money where his mouth was. Most people don't do that. He put his money And he invested it into a college that did not truly believe in what he was giving them. He proved it. He showed it. Go and look it up. It's all, listen, they can't hide the numbers. The numbers are all there for anybody that doesn't understand it. Now look, I get both sides. It's so hard, right? Because at the same, I was listening to Dr. Umar and he was saying you got to hold these celebrities accountable. But to what level of accountability? It's, all right, I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say you could swim really well, right? You could swim really well. And you're out the beach. And because you can swim very well, you're capable of saving a couple people, right? Now, just because you can swim doesn't mean that you're obligated to be the lifeguard for everyone. If you say, that's like you saying you going to the beach, I swim well. Okay, you swim well. Oh, you stopped a child from drowning. So because you stopped one or two children from drowning or being attacked by, let's say, an ocean predator, i.e. a shark, right? Now they're saying, well, why don't you stand on that post and protect all of us then? And stay there. Well, okay. I saved the kids and I saved 5 more people. That's not enough. You should sacrifice your time and effort. Forget what it is. You're the one that can swim. We can't swim. Great way to look at it. I mean, if you can't swim, you would always love to have someone that could take you out of that bind of drowning. But guess what? That's up to that person. That's a choice. Doing a good thing, right? Being a good person, right, is a great thing. But forcing them to do something, that's when we start getting into real mucky, muddy, gray waters. Because nobody wants to be forced to do anything. If you're driving right now on your road, right, and they're saying, well, look, the American Heart Association needs money. We help out all of you. We help out everybody. We help stop heart attacks and everything else, or prevention of those things year round. It's a fact. Would you be okay with them saying, well, since we help everybody, we should be obligated or allowed to take at least 1% of everyone's paycheck to pay for all of the funds that we need to keep this thing going? I bet no one will say, oh, no, you ain't taking no money out of me. Even if it's 1%, you won't even really notice it. But you're going to say no, because then it takes away choice. It makes it an obligation. A tax. Because you already know and look, I know there's white people that watch this, and I'm speaking strictly as me, as Nitro, right? As black people, we know in my house, I know what my dad used to grow up and saying. There's 2 things that's promised to me. 3 things he used to say, right? Taxes, death, and being black. Those are the 3 things that's guaranteed throughout this life. Love is not guaranteed. Money is not guaranteed. Health is not guaranteed. Friendship is not guaranteed. Education isn't even guaranteed. But being a black man, taxes, and death, inescapable. You is not escaping that. I don't care. Listen, bro, you are not escaping that. And those lessons that he taught me it stuck with me. Because it's understood. You see, sacrifice, true sacrifice, no matter how one person is the head, it takes multiple people's sacrifice to truly ensue difference making. And I heard Dr. Umar use this example with like Harriet Tubman. Let's say that, if Harriet Tubman said, I'm only going to stop here, then it wouldn't move. No. Do you know why it made a difference? Because they saw her example and more people people used her as an example to move forward in the endeavor. We didn't say, hey, Harriet, if you quit now because you're 70 years old, you're failing us. If you quit at 50 years old, you're failing us. There's a lot more people over that need help. We were never saying that. How dare we say that? But they set a precedent. They made themselves an example. They laid out the blueprint. So more people started doing it. There was access to more. See, that's why I said this is such a nuanced topic, and why I was kind of like, let me let this thing, the dominoes, kind of settle some before I touch on it. Because, like I've said before, I'm never going to make this political. I refuse. I will never speak on politics. But when we talk about these topics, it's literally what sports have been based on. Look at even the story of Glory Road and some of these other things that you see. I know a lot of people remember the movie Remember the Titans, which I ain't gonna lie. If you a dude, if you don't want to run through a wall watching that movie, something's wrong with the thing beating in your chest. You get where I'm coming from? It's been there from the beginning. So that's why we could touch on it. That's why I will touch on it. I'm not scared to touch on it at all. And I will be. But I wanted to make sure that I could give an educated and a fair assessment and base standard on what I thought through my eyes, through my opinion, about how this is played out, especially in the media. And that's one thing that's bothered me. Why is played out so heavily in the media? CNN? Really? 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 You go on CNN to bash a man that's no one knew Jackson, Mississippi. No one cared about that school. Nobody cared about that school. He brought it to the forefront of media coverage. He made the blueprint. Now it's time for others to invest, to sacrifice, and to pick up the baton and run with it. Because one man can sway the masses of people, but if the masses of people are not willing to follow that man in his beliefs and ideology, then you might as well just be a useless YouTuber. I mean, I'm a YouTuber, I'm not useless, but you know where I'm coming from. Yo, cheer for me, people. Cheer for me. Yo. But look, that was another episode of the Wunderkind Show. Man, you guys could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and you know I appreciate that. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification on the video. It helps the algorithm, because I know you loves you some Nitro. So I'm trying to help you, help me, help y'all get more of this content. You feel me? So this is Nitro with the Wunderkind Show, signing off. And you guys know my slogan. Peace. And I'm out. Yo!